What's going on, guys? Welcome back to This Is IT. This will be episode 2. I am Chuck, or NetworkChuck, and we got David Bombal here as well. Say hi, David.
Hey, everyone. Good to be back for the second episode, and hopefully you're enjoying these videos and, the show. As always, let us know what you think. Sorry, Chuck took over there. You go for it.
Yeah, you always do that, man.
Well, that's why we like each other, because we always get into these fights.
Well, anyways, guys, I hope you got your coffee ready. We have someone pretty special on the show today. His name is Stuart. Stuart, what's your last name, Stuart? Or you don't have to give your last name.
Big Evil Beard.
Big Evil Beard.
Oh, okay, yeah, forget his name. It's not Stuart. It's Big Evil Beard. And he works for Cisco. Actually, I'll let him tell us a bit about who he is and why he's important, because I think he's pretty important. Go ahead, Stuart. Take it away.
I don't know about the important. Yeah, my name is Stuart Clark. I work for Cisco on the Cisco Developer Program. I've been with Cisco for 7 years now. I joined the Developer Program, Cisco Devnet, around 15, 16 months ago, and it's been an awesome ride. I get to meet really cool people and go to all the events around the world and hang out with all the cool people like Chuck and David. So it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I'm feeling a bit out here, like I'm going to have to grow something, I think.
Yeah, you're going to have to grow the beard there. I think you've got a couple of years before you catch me up there. So.
That should be a thing. David, you should try. We should have a hashtag or something, like grow David's beard or something like that. I don't know.
No. I value my marriage more than my beard. Sorry, guys.
To each his own, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, so Stuart, you work for Cisco, and you work in a very unique part of Cisco, because it's kind of like the forefront of Cisco. It's the new stuff. How did you get on that? Have you always been on that team at Cisco, or how did you get to that point?
No, I haven't been on that team. It's a great question. I started with Cisco as a contractor in 2012. I got a call out of the blue from a recruiter and said, "Hey, we think your resume matches," and we all get these kind of calls. And I didn't think much of it, and so then he called me back a couple of days later and he said, "I've shown your CV resume to the hiring manager, and he really likes it. How do you feel about for an interview?" And he still wouldn't tell me who it was. And I said, "Well, I'm pretty happy where I am." And he said to me, "Well, this is for Cisco." And I was, wow, this is a great opportunity. And so I took the initial call for Cisco, and then they invited me down for an interview. And I spoke to my CTO at the time, and he said to me, I was honest with him and said, "Look, I've got an opportunity to work for Cisco." And he said to me, "Well, you've got to do it. You've got to go for it, because if you don't, you're going to regret it. If it doesn't work out, no hard feelings. You'll always have a place here."
Sorry to interrupt you, but for the longest time, I've fantasized about working at Cisco. And I know for a lot of people, to get started at Cisco, if you're not like advanced engineer level, it might be on TAC. So is it really as good as it sounds? Does it meet the hype, the dream?
It's funny because you stood outside the office and things, and you finally get to that building, and you're not there to take an exam, or you're not there as a customer or partner or anything like that. Your heart's kind of really racing in your mouth. you're going to be going into an interview, and it's going to be hard. They're going to throw everything at you, including the kitchen sink and stuff. And so, you closing your eyes, just going over everything, trying to remain calm, and the sweat's literally pouring out of both hands at this stage. And I'm not a suit wearing guy, I never have been and stuff. And, I'm wearing a suit down there, and it feels like that tie is just choking me around the neck. And walking into the office and things like that, it was just I was like a little kid in a sweet kind of store, just looking around and stuff like that. And there's a couple of guys, they lean down at you, a couple of people leaning down, looking at you and stuff, and then you just kind of go into one of the the side rooms and things like that. But yeah, once you get that badge, once you get the badge around your the lanyard, or whether you the little clip and stuff like that, once you get that, the feeling is absolutely amazing.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So tell us, Stuart, what did you start out with? Because you've only been at DevNet, 16 months or something, you said?
Yeah, 16 months. So I started with the company at the time, or the business unit within Cisco was called ScanSafe, which was an acquisition for Cisco. Ran around about the time that I joined, Cisco was putting a lot of money into it, and it became cloud web security. So I started as a network engineer, and I was implementing IPv6 across the entire stack. So it was made up of 35 data centers globally, and they started to roll out the IPv6 program, which was pretty much of what I was brought in to do. So there was a lot of kind of upgrades to a lot of devices, replacing devices, configuring IPv6, that kind of stuff. After I did the initial contract, they asked me to do another couple of months and stuff to do a phase 2 of the contract, which was really cool. And then we went through a bit of a change in the leadership within Cisco, and there was an opportunity then for me to become a blue badge. So there's two things at Cisco. When you've got your badge, if you see the little red square around the photo, they're the red badges, which are contractors, and then the blue badges around the photo is a little blue thing. And it took me a while to work out what that actually was. People kept saying, "You're a red badge," and what does that mean?
You're on the offensive security team, is that right?
Yeah, I'm on the offensive security team. So that ScanSafe became cloud web security, and then cloud web security then started to push out a whole new bunch of data centers, replacing all of the legacy stuff with all of the new stuff across the board. So I worked on that team for around about 4.5 years and kind of went through all the cycles of starting as network engineer, and I got the opportunity to team lead, tech lead, architect. I did everything on that team. All of the peering mesh, which was great fun because I've got a huge love of BGP. That was really cool. So I got to do all of that. I got to work with RIPE and IANA and peering DB and things like that, and do all the peering stuff. I led on a bunch of things like CAP issues and the critical issues that, for the customers that they had, which was really good, great learning experience. And then Cisco acquired OpenDNS, and they folded that, basically our two teams in together. This is where my career really took a huge pivot. The OpenDNS team, when they came on board, they had a fully automated network right across the board, and the stuff that they were doing with automation was just really next level. The only way I can describe it is as if like an alien ship has just come to Earth with all this futuristic technology, and we're still drawing on the cave walls.
Amazing.
The only way I can describe it, because I was a huge CLI fan. And for me, the faster I could get with the CLI was, the better. That was my end goal, just to become faster. But, we started, doing more and more automation, and we automated all of the cloud web security infrastructure. And I really loved it. I thought this is really, really great. And it really helps to work with people who have that really great level of automation skills, to be able to guide you, and they can show you the things that the mistakes that have happened to them and the learning curve that they've gone through. And then hopefully you won't go through much of that, as much as that kind of pain of learning how this, kind of works. But getting to Devnet, I'd learned to sort of like do automation, just sort of like, by, what's the term I'm looking for? By drinking from the fire hose, starting with Python and stuff like that and hammering away. And I started to look then to actually learn the subjects, learning to what does what and where goes where, and why this happens to what it does. So I started with a few Python learning courses, and then I came across Cisco Devnet. It was interesting because I was at a kid's party. My son had been invited to a kid's party. It was in this ginormous hangar, and they have these like big climbing frames and slides. And there must be legitimately, 200, 300 kids all going absolutely crackers in this place. And it's really, really, really noisy. And there's just rows and rows and rows of tables. And I just blocked myself out, and I took out my phone. And I just thought, I'm going to join Twitter. I want to join Twitter. And I wasn't really big on the social media at the time. And I joined Twitter, and I started following a few people I know. And then I came across, headed by our social media team, like Julio and Sylvia Spiver, who you know. Mm-hmm. And also that led me to follow Hank Preston as well. And I started following them, and Susie Wee, who's our SVP, and Mandy Whaley, who's our senior director. Started following all those guys and seeing what they were doing. I thought, this is really cool. I really like this. So I started becoming very interactive with them. through social sort of side. And then I started talking to them internally. And then I saw that Mandy had a requisition open. So I reached out to her and I said, I think I could be a great fit for your team. You know, this is what I do. And I sent my resume over. And then within a couple of days, I was on a formal interview with Hank, which was kind of strange, really, because I'm used to talking to him in sort of like a, hey Hank, how you doing? And then all of a sudden the guy's interviewing me, which was great, And then I spoke to more people on the team, those that I didn't know and things like that. And I think about 2 weeks went by, and the recruiter at Cisco reached out to me and said, Andy would like to offer you the role. So, I was super excited. On the other hand, you're leaving a part of your kind of old team and your friends kind of, that chapter of your life is kind of closing. But this was something I really wanted to do. I really wanted to focus more on coding and development and focus on multiple products and things like that. I wanted to move away from the operations and project side as well of the networking and things like that, because the struggle that I was having, and a lot of people have said this to me, is that you're out there fighting fires through projects and out there fighting fires through operations and things like that. How do you then begin to start automating your work things when you've got everything going on around you and things like that? And I wanted that time to really focus on that development side.
Well, that's crazy. I find it interesting that so you were working for Cisco, and then you had a recruiter from Cisco contact you to let you know about the job.
Yeah, there's a couple of ways to obviously apply at Cisco. There's, you can apply externally, and then you can, if you work internally at Cisco, you can apply internally as well for those roles as well. They go through the same channels.
I also just wanted to say, Stuart, what's really interesting is you were using social media, and that's how you made the contact initially.
Yeah.
So even within the same company, using social media changed things for you, it sounds like. And I think there's a lesson to be learned there. Sorry, go on.
No, the absolutely is. And I've always been in a sort of about people and things like that. 10 years ago, before I even broke into networking, I used to work in the shop in Nottingham in England. And I used to park my car probably about a quarter mile away from the shop. And as I used to walk to the shop to work, to the shop I worked at, I used to pop into a coffee place at Starbucks just to get myself coffee in the morning on the way to work. Set yourself up for the day. And I used to see the same person in there, same people around the same time. I'd always get in there around just before 8 o'clock, always a gentleman in front of me. And after a while, when you see the same sort of people, you just, you say hi, good morning and stuff. I'm stood behind him one day in the queue, and he orders his coffee and things. And then he kind of pats his wallet, and pats his pockets. And you see that he's almost like forgot his wallet, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I said to him, let me get that for you. And he said, he was really gracious. He said, no. And the person at Starbucks was like, no, he can drop it off later. But he said, no, I can't come back later. I'm going from here. I can't. And I said, let me get that for you. And we walked out the shop together. And he said to me, oh, thanks for doing that. I was like, no problem. Buy me the coffee back tomorrow. And as we're walking up the street for him, I said to him, what do you do for work? I just wanted to make small talk. And he said, I'm a network architect. And I said, I'm looking to break into networking. And he said to me, oh, really? You should send me your resume, send me your CV. And so I did. And he was really gracious. He gave me a lot of really good help. He put me in touch with a whole bunch of people, the recruiters for the company he worked for, HR department of the company he worked for, people at other companies within the area, people he networked with. He gave me some good advice of what to put on my resume and that kind of stuff. And it just goes to show that, when you're networking with people, you just never know the opportunities that are going to come along.
That's exactly right.
That's crazy. You never factor in like looking at every situation in your life and where there might be an opportunity. I mean, I almost got a job at Dell just through a family friend. And so you never know when something can pop up.
No, you really don't. And it's amazing of the kind of people, you know, those are people I knew that I worked with, walked through, and the kind of when I was working in the shop and things like that, you know, I went on to then meet years later in the IT industry. You know, there was a gentleman who used to come into the shop with his son on the weekends and things. And many years later, he was that CTO that I went to say that I was being offered a job at Cisco. That was him. I ended up working for him somewhere else, you know, in a different capacity, you know, 3 or 4 years later.
I also want to say something. I think it's really important that you always treat people with respect, because you never know what's going to happen 10 years from today. Like your story, you could end up working for someone that you just meet or met somewhere.
Yeah. And I've heard that. There's a really good story there. It floated around the kind of the social media channels and things like that for many years. And it kind of was in London and stuff like that, about somebody that was getting off the tube. Yeah. And someone, you know, barged into them and stuff like.
Oh, I saw this on social media. Go on.
Stormed off and stuff, and then you know was sat down, and the person that walked in for the interview was actually the person that barged in front of them at the tube.
Yep.
You know, it's you know, I think it's an always true. There's this really great saying, as you know, the further the monkey climbs the tree, the more you see its ass. And
I haven't heard that one.
Nope, yeah, first for me too.
You know, I think it's, you know, this. I don't believe in burning bridges at all. You know, you're never going to get along with everybody. That's just a fact of life. But that doesn't mean that you go out your way to be rude to them and things like that. And you see people, you know, they might leave their job and things like that, and you know, they're walking out the door, and you know, and that's it. They're leaving and things like that, and then, you know, 2 years later, they're trying to apply back again. And everyone says, oh, yeah, I remember when you left that time and stuff. You know, you didn't complete your work, or, you know, you was rude to this person and things like that. It will come back to bite you. It really will.
Yeah, and I think in this industry, it's amazing how small it is.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. And with social media now, as you were saying now, you know, like I'd heard of you way before I met you. I'd heard of Chuck way before I'd met him through social media. And there's a whole bunch of people, like, you know, when I'm at Cisco Live, it's like, you know, I'd known Jason Gooley for such a long time, but I'd never met him. Yeah. You know, I'd known Denise Fishburne for such a long time, never met her. And then, you know, you get to meet them and things like that. And it was the same with a lot of the people on the Devnet team. You know, I'd known them through social media for such a long time, and it was I don't know, 6-7 months before I actually got to meet them in person.
Stuart, you told me something like interesting. I mean, you said you used to be a hairdresser. Is that right? Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So how did you transition from or move from like hairdressing to like coding?
Interesting. Yeah, I left school at 16 and took an apprenticeship in hairdressing. Wow. I grew up in a very, very rural area of England. You know, where, you know, you kind of followed in your father's footsteps almost. You know, whatever your father did. So if your father was in the plumbing or electricity trade or bricklaying or was a lorry driver, you know, that's pretty much what happened. You know, the smart kids went off to university, but you know, the kids that sat at the back of the classroom like me and stuff like that, you know, we went into trades. My father was a carpenter, and so he always worked with his hands and things. And so I went into hairdressing as a trade, and I did that for 15 years.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I did that for a long time. I mean, it was a great career for me. It took me to America, New Zealand. I worked in a couple of the top places in Mayfair for a very long time. I wrote articles for things like GQ, Esquire, had things published in some of the newspapers on, you know, men's grooming and things like that. Believe it or not, I was the master of the cutthroat shave.
Oh wow!
I could wield a cutthroat razor, you know, quite well, and considering that having shaved myself in a great number of years.
This might be a weird question, but can you give me a trim at Cisco Live?
Yeah, absolutely. Booth? Yeah. set up a little cutting show, but it was I kind of reached what I thought was the end of my career in hairdressing. I'd reached what I thought was the very, very. I'd gone as far as what I thought I could go. I'd achieved everything that I'd set out to do, as you know, as an apprentice, as an aspiring hairdresser. I'd done everything that I needed to do, and I was sat outside the place that I worked at one day, and it had been a busy week. I'd done 6 days that week, and I was the top person in the shop. I'd put the most money through the doors again. And I'm sat outside the shop, and it was probably early sort of summertime in the UK. And I got a can of Coke, and I was just enjoying the sun. And that was my one break. And the manager of the shop was outside talking to the owner, and the owner was stood next to his Bentley Continental. He'd just got this Bentley Continental, and that was when the Bentley Continental was a brand new car. And he stood there next to this car talking to the manager and things. And I looked at the Bentley, and I could see just in the distance my car, this 15-year-old piece of stuff, and
piece of stuff.
The windows wouldn't wind down. The heater was stuck on full. The radio didn't work. Brakes were a luxury. Tires questionable. And he's driving this Bentley, and I'm driving this old car. And I thought to myself, something's wrong here.
Yep.
Something is. Why is he driving that Bentley? I'm driving this. I'm thinking I'm not making clear decisions. I'm not making decisions that are right for me. And I thought I have to do something else. I have to do something else for my life. I'm in my early 30s, and I came back home, and I said to my wife, I want to do something else. And she said, what do you want to do? And I said, I don't know. I really, really don't know. I just know that I've run my course with this, And she said, okay. And then 2 weeks later, we discovered my wife was pregnant. And
wow.
Okay, now the pressure's really on, right? Now the pressure's really on. And I chatted to a few people and stuff, and my father-in-law worked in IT before he retired, and he said to me, have you thought about doing IT and things? And I'd always been a huge fan of that film War Games, with Matthew Broderick.
Yeah.
I'd always liked that, but computers when I was growing up as a kid were, they weren't around. And I'd always liked computers. And he said to me, you ought to have a go at doing it. And so he lent me CCNA book, and I just covered that. I just went through it, just covered it. I put myself through a boot camp. I put myself through the exams, and it took me, I think, two attempts to pass the CCNA.
Oh.
And then afterwards, I just started contacting people and emailing people, until the door eventually broke and I was offered my first job.
Sorry to interrupt you. How old were you when you made this decision?
I was 33.
I'm glad you said that. So in other words, you went from hairdressing to CCNA at 33.
Yes.
I get 3 emails a day from people in that exact same situation. I mean, they're not hairdressers, but they're like, hey, I'm switching careers.
Yeah.
What do I do? Am I too old? And that's, I love this story.
No, never too old. But that was the thing. I mean, and that's where that kind of determination kicked in and things like that, actually getting through all of that, being able to pass that, because, when you do something like this and you change, there's going to be people who say you can't do it, and the worst thing that you can do is listen to them, Granted, if you say that you're going to go and climb Mount Everest in a Speedo, and they say you can't do it, I would probably take that advice.
Challenge accepted.
Challenge accepted. See you up there, buddy. Oh dear.
It's that or the CCIE. I can't decide yet.
Yeah, it's one or the other. One or the other. People are going to tell you that you can't do it, and you should stick with what you are, where you're going and things. And but I mean, even when I landed that first job, I mean, I became, I undertook that job, and it was a huge learning curve for me. Literally, I started working on that knock 3 weeks after our son was born. So I was getting no sleep, absolutely no sleep, and then doing a full day, and then the 2 hours there and back in the car. just to get there, to get yelled at on the phone, and you start thinking, is it worth it? But I then got my head back into it again, and started studying for my CCNP. I just started studying for my CCNP. I thought, right, now I'm in the industry. Now I'm getting this valuable experience. I'm going to start studying for my CCNP, and I did. And I completed the CCIE then CCNP. I apologize. I completed that by the following year. And then I knew it was time to move up from doing knock to, so I started looking out for, a job that was going to get me more experience. And then I went into the next job. I did 9 months there, and then I moved back into, that was enterprise. And I really like being at service provider level. So I went back into service provider again, and I was there 9 months, 10 months, and then I got a call to join Cisco. So I joined Cisco with 3.5 years experience under my belt.
It's amazing. I was going to ask you, how long did it take you to go from like starting to joining Cisco? It was like 3.5 years. That's impressive.
3.5 years, yeah. And it was by no means no easy feat. But it just, if you want something bad enough, you'll put in that time for it. You'll find a way.
And it wasn't just like a TAC role at Cisco. Like you were like an engineer role there.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it was a huge show. It was like, it was a 12-week opportunity. So I left a full-time paying job with a, how old was my son? My son was about 2. He was about 2 years old. Left a full-time paying job to go just for a 12-week contract. So yeah, took a huge risk, but risks are part and parcel.
And they converted you full-time after that, I'm assuming. I mean, you're here now.
Yeah, they converted me to FTE 28th of January 2013. Yeah.
So Stuart, I mean, one of the pieces of advice you gave is don't listen to the naysayers. Don't listen to the people who say you can't do it. I mean, one of many examples of someone who has done it. What other advice would you give someone in, they, perhaps not a hairdresser, but they're in some position and they want to make this move? What advice?
I think it can be done.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say it can be done, because I'm living proof that it can be done, and I've known other people who have done this. I was reading something on Twitter the other day, and people were talking. They were software engineers. What did you study at university? Was computing your discipline. And it's amazing how many people didn't come from a computing background and are in software or in network administration or network engineers now. I think it's like with anything. If you want something bad enough, you'll put the time in to do it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what that is. There's kind of one principle in life, and that is that you have to want it, and you have to put in the time. It doesn't matter, whether you want to be, a drummer with Motley Crue. It doesn't matter. It doesn't mean if you want to, be the next person on the moon, or you want to fly the space shuttle and things like that. Set your goals. Find out how you're going to get there, and then just go there. Do it. You're going to get distracted, but that's when you have to really knuckle down. Your friends might call you and say, hey, we're going out for some beers, you want to come? Or, hey, we're going out for 2 weeks clubbing in Ibiza or something. We're going out for things, and there's going to be times where you're going to want to go for that thing, but you've got to keep your eye on the prize. If that's what you want, then you've got to do it. You've really got to do it.
It's interesting because, you spoke about that total ownership book. And do you think you were applying some of those principles before you actually read the book? Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, I was applying those principles. Yeah, it's, you can take those principles and you can apply them into so many different parts of your life. If you want to go and get fit and things, if you want to get fit, you don't all of a sudden start running a marathon. You don't get up one day and think, oh, I want to start running and run a marathon. It doesn't happen. You have to build yourself up to that level.
Yeah.
And it's the same with anything. You build yourself up slowly. You take one day at a time, and you just chase it down.
I love it, Chuck. It's so nice to hear stories like this, man. Stuart, thanks for sharing.
No, you're more than welcome, buddy. I mean, it's really surreal, absolutely surreal, because like the first Cisco Live that I attended and things like that, and I'm stood there with, legends of our industry, and then that's when, you think, I think how far that I've come in that period of time.
I mean, it sounds like, I mean, the takeaway I get from that is you said it very clearly. You have to have goals. You have to work towards that. You have to, don't let distractions pull you away from your goal. You have to take ownership of this career. It's your life. And I think you said it on an email. If you don't take ownership of your life and your career, no one is. So is that right?
No one is. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you're responsible for your career. No one else is going to take responsibility for it. A great example is, I still know people who I worked with back at that knock 10 years ago, and they're still doing the same job.
Yeah.
But yet every time I speak to them, they're unhappy. They don't like what they're doing. They don't like the hours. They don't like the money. They don't like their boss. There's things they don't like. And I say, okay, then, well, here's some great resources for you. I can give you these great resources, the learning labs, sandboxes, and things like that. To help you get out of that rut, to help you get your career on track, to help you get where you want to go. That saying is really familiar. You can lead a horse to water. You can't make it drink.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
No one had a gun to my head back in the day when I wanted to read those Cisco books. There was nobody forcing me to do it. Absolutely nobody. The only person that wanted to do it was me.
And I find that so frustrating, because when you get to a point where you've discovered, hey, this path is amazing, CCNA, CCNP, you can create your own career, have total control of your life, and choose your path. And then you're like, I figured it out. And you see your friends and your family, and they're struggling, and you try to tell them, hey, you could do this, and they're like, oh yeah, I'm interested, and then they just stop, or they don't care, and you're like, I could just, don't you understand?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I feel like that, and there's, there are people who just want to clock in and clock out, for their job. That's okay. If that's what you're happy doing, that's absolutely great. And I'm really happy for you, because you're happy, you're satisfied. As long as you're happy, that's fine. But if you're going to clock in and clock out and then, moan about it and be unhappy, you've got to change that. You really, really have to change that. You have to change your situation.
And I like what you said. You have to do it. You have to do it yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you have to.
So I think on that really high note, Chuck, we must perhaps wrap it up. I don't know. We can talk all day. Stuart, we're definitely going to have you back again as part of the show.
No worries. Yeah, I'd be pleased to.
Really appreciate you coming and spending so much time with us.
Yeah.
And I got one more question for you, Stuart. I'm going to take a little bit of your time. What's next for you? You're a disciplined guy. You're very motivated. What do you see on the horizon for you?
I still want to strengthen and bolster my coding skills. I think that's, you learn something new every day with that.
Yeah.
That's my main goal. My main goal, and we do that in so many different formats, as through the different events that we run globally around the world. Whether that's the Devnet Express, Cisco Live, the Devnet Create, which is in April. I just want to produce the best content. I want to make people excited about this. I want to help people get on their own journey. I want to see people succeed in their own journeys. I love getting those emails. I love getting those tweets. I love getting those messages on LinkedIn that says, hey, you said to me, do this and do this. And now I've found this new job and I'm doing this every day and I'm really loving it and I'm really happy. And that for me is amazing. That's the thing I really look forward to. And, bringing that energy and connecting with the community is really a passion of mine.
Awesome. And it's clear, DevNet is only getting better. It's amazing what you guys have done so far. And I know, speaking for me and David, we're excited to see what you guys are going to do.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
It's it's certainly really great, and things like, when we get together with the team and things like that, we sit there before we do Cisco Live, or before we do any of the events and things. Our team is always there the day before, and our leadership welcomes us to the events, and we have an orientation and things like that. And I'm sat around the team and things like that, and it's really, really motivating to hear then what people are gonna bring to that event that time. And every year the whole team really kind of amazes me in things, because every year they just up their game every single time. You know, the demos, the workshops, the technical talks, it just gets better and better and better. And to be around that and to be inspired by those people is just amazing. It really is a privilege.
Well, you heard it here first. This year's DevNet's going to be the best ever, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, awesome. I think David kind of closes out a little bit, but yeah, Stuart, thank you so much. Or Big Evil Beard, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Chuck.
This is awesome.
Yeah, Stuart, appreciate it, man.
No, thank you, David. Thank you for your time as always. Always grateful for you.
No, man. Thanks so much.